I've been building my Evo 9 MR to compete in Gridlife's Time Attack series for the past 2 years, but this season we're leaving no stone unturned in our pursuit of speed, horsepower, handling, weight reduction. When we're done with her, Lana the Lancer is going to be the whole package, all sponsored by Advance Auto Parts. TRE has upgraded my front limited slip differential and completely refreshed my rear differential. So now, with Lana the Lancer and her cool new parts in tow, we head to Burnsville, Minnesota, home of RS Motors.
Hi, Ronnie Solomon here. Yes, I'm Filipino. We are back here at RS Motors with Ben's Evo. We have a lot of things we're gonna do. A new turbo that we're gonna try out. But first we're gonna get this car with the new diffs back in it and do a base run so we know what we're starting out with. And then we'll go to work. It's gonna be a busy week.
It was -10 last night in Minnesota, so that's why this is covered in frost. Together, the drivetrain's totally assembled. Now we have it on the dyno, and we are going to do a poll to see if it's making the same horsepower it made last year, or less, or just to see where we're at, so that once we do all these other mods, turbo, etc., we can find out if we've done better or worse.
We made 385, 365 torque, so she's still healthy.
Oh, hey. So while I take a quick break from editing the Stance Car road trip, let me tell you guys really quickly about the rules of Gridlife's street class. The idea behind street class is to make a competitive, affordable time attack category where people can have close competition in street cars without breaking the bank. But as with any rule set, there are loopholes. All cars in Gridlife street class have to run a minimum tread wear of 200, because obviously nobody is running around doing errands on Hoosiers. The maximum section width for a two-wheel drive car is 285, and the maximum for an all-wheel drive car like my Evo is 255. All street class cars have to run OEM aero, which means no giant Voltex wings or plywood splitters. Basically, if Mitsubishi didn't sell it, I can't run it. For a long time, street class was effectively a stock turbo class. You weren't allowed to run any aftermarket turbos and only OEM turbos if you were going to change your turbo at all. You also weren't allowed to run over 25% over stock boost. Then a couple years ago, some Subaru guys had the wild idea of buying the extremely expensive Subaru S209 turbo off of the late model STI S209, which allowed them to make a bunch more horsepower than had ever been possible before on the US EJ25 turbo. Luckily, Evos have a similar option. This is the HKS GT2 7460. This is the same turbo that was used on the Evo 10 FQ440, which was only available in the UK and they only made 40 of. As the name implies, that car made 440 horsepower off of this turbo. This turbo is ball bearing, it is badass, and most importantly, it is class legal, at least until I get protested and disqualified. I bought this unit secondhand, and then I had it rebuilt by Force Performance, which is why it looks so gorgeous.
So this is the turbo that we're going with. It's a HKS GT2. Typically you'll gain transient response with ball bearing on track. If you're getting off throttle and going back on throttle, you should see an increase in response. Not necessarily on dyno pulls, because you're doing it from a 2000 RPM to redline versus letting off, getting the boost to drop way down and then going right back in it. So that should be an improvement with this turbo. Right now we are going to remove the stock turbo and replace it with the HKS Gen 2 and do a comparison from our base. I have not worked with this turbo before, so I honestly can't say if it'll be a better turbo or worse. On paper, it's supposed to be better, but we've also pushed the stock turbo to a lot more power than what they advertise. So we will find out soon what this can do. We're hoping for better results. Since we're removing the turbo radiator, we're gonna remove the AC unit out also.
The reason I'm uninstalling the AC system on the Evo is because 1, it is pretty heavy, and 2, it doesn't work anyways. I had the compressor replaced back in 2018, right before our Florida to Alaska road trip, and it went bad again in 2021. Early Evo 8 RS models came without AC installed from the factory, so it's completely class legal for me to remove it.
Scale.
All right, so we're gonna be weighing some of the components that we're taking off of the Evo to see exactly how much weight we are gaining or losing. We've got our handy dandy Evo box right here. So the scale's zeroed out, and now let's see how much AC stuff weighs. So pretty much 30 pounds that we just took off that was hanging at the very front of the car. So that's really good. That's a lot of very valuable weight to lose.
His whole stud is coming up.
On that side?
Rusted. You don't have that yet. Rain guard. The rain guard is what protects this upper.
The exhaust manifold has been giving us some trouble, and the guys needed more PV blaster, so I ran to Advanced Encounters.
When installing these turbos, we always check what the preload is on the wastegate. That would tell you what your minimum boost will be. You don't want to install a turbo that's gonna have a preload of 30 PSI and you're expecting 20 or 18 and end up hurting it. So we always check the preload. So this is reading about 18, 19 PSI. Typically with back pressure, you'll see about 2 PSI less, so we should open the gate around 16 PSI.
I'm going to be working with a company called Artec, which is based out of Australia, and they develop a lot of turbo exhaust parts for Evos. They've seen a lot of success on their side of the world with time attack in their cars, and this year I'm taking any competitive advantage that I can get. This is an Artec exhaust manifold for a 4G63. They developed it in-house. It is set up to still maintain the OEM heat shield while still being a big improvement over a stock exhaust header. It is cast just like the one from FP, and I think it is very pretty. And I'm gonna be torture testing this over the course of the year.
We have some pieces here from Artec. First time I've seen one. Initially seeing it, it's really nice. It's cast, it's got small runners. It should promote fast spool. That's a beautiful piece.
All right, so we've taken off the manifold from FP, great manifold, and the OEM turbo, and we're gonna weigh this really quickly. 35 pounds, 34.5 pounds. And now we're gonna weigh this versus the new Artec manifold and the HKS GT2. This setup weighs 5 pounds less, 4.5 pounds less than stock turbo and the FE manifold. That's something, huh? So everything's going well. The only problem is that someone stole the cat off of my Tundra. So it looks like everything is getting a high flow exhaust on this trip.
has 2 horns. That's too far, because we don't need to. Half pounds. First start up with the new turbo and header.
What do you think it's gonna make?
Oh, I always let the dyno answer that question.
Paul, what you gonna make?
I'm gonna say 410, 390.
I'm hoping to break 400.
What's up? What's it gonna make? 415. Luke, what's it gonna make?
445.
Ron, how much boost was that?
Right now we're peak at 23, goes down to 20. So it is spooling a little later. The green line is your stock 9 turbo. And that's the HKS. I'm setting the boost level so far. I'm trying to hit 25, then tapering off. So we'll see. I haven't made a full run yet, but it is a later spool for sure. Classing wise for this car being in street, we're only allowed 25 PSI. So the comparison becomes more interesting between the stock turbo and the HKS GT2. I can't read that far.
393,
Low torque.
346.
Yeah. Let's compare the graph and see how it looks. We're still low, a little, actually that's higher boost than the other one at the top end. So it just about evens out. Gains is up here, but it also has more boost up top. But it lost anything below 5,000, kind of lost the spool.
So Ron, you're telling me I should have just stayed stock?
So far, yes. Well, if you're driving this car above 5,000 all the time, on track, obviously you have some gain.
Ron's not done yet, but so far it's not making dramatically more horsepower than it was before. In fact, we still haven't made what we made on the stock turbo last year. So we'll see. Hopefully we can get over 400.
But Ron hadn't finished tuning.
Ron, don't tell me you put it up to 29 pounds.
25.
25? 417?
It's working.
Daddy! Daddy!
It's working. We overshot the boost a little bit, like around 4,000 and 4,500. We'll drop the torque a little more, but I think the top end we can keep.
Whatever, cut that part I said before. So I'm kind of worried that the new turbo was not really worth it.
It's tough to know if it's header or turbo at this point, unless we just swap headers. This is a bigger turbo for sure, because we can carry more boost at the top end. You can see the difference in the green line.
So this dotted green line is the old turbo where the boost is dropping off, and the solid green line Is it holding boost all the way?
You can also see the spool is negligible now. Even if it's spooled 100 RPM, the torque line is the same. Even if it's spooled less, the turbo has more in it as far as air-wise, so it's using that.
Okay. 415. That's with boost 100%, under 25 or at 25?
Yeah.
Where's peak power?
Oh, it's almost that red line.
Okay.
7,300. So, yeah, it likes to make it up top. I think that's about as much as he'll do.
I'm glad we did the baseline pull, because, you know, if you compare it to 397, we're not making that much more power, like 18 more horse. But compared to 385, that's, what is that? That's 15, that's 30 more horsepower.
It really comes up after 6,500. It probably starts gaining like 20 plus. This is a dirty graph since I couldn't stop it in time. It's pretty good. You are the only one who can say it's worth it or not.
Wow, now that is quite a result. Now obviously, I don't know what the result was because this has all been filmed in the past, but we're not done yet. This is Artec's 3.5-inch O2 housing. Now we are going to a 3.5-inch exhaust from the turbo back because Ben from Artec swears up and down that we will make more power and get better response by going to a larger diameter exhaust.
The idea behind a larger piping on the turbo car is to let all the back pressure flow freely. These cars come with a 2.5-inch exhaust from the factory, and when you bolt on a 3-inch exhaust, they do gain about 25 to 30 wheel horsepower, taking all the restriction out. So from 3 to 3.5 inch, we'll find out what they do.
Ben promises that this is going to make a big difference even on a stock frame turbo car like mine, and I'm a little bit incredulous as to how much of a difference this is going to make, but we're going to leave no stone unturned in the quest for our performance. I'm going to attach the housing onto the turbo just like that, and then we're going to go to a full 3.5-inch catback and downpipe. We're going to remove the catalytic converter that's on the car right now. It's a high flow cat that I got from MAP Performance. So that will obviously, I think, give us a little bit of horsepower right there, and we'll see how much of a difference going to the 3.5-inch makes.
I'm for lightweight,
Yeah.
just to be dead honest. They're gonna be bigger pipes up front, so it's heavier up front too. So, if anything, this would be like a trial basis, and you have that to fall back on.
That's true.
You know, you'll never know unless you do it.
Let's try it.
So.
It'll be a good science project.
And you're gonna have a downpipe that nobody else has.
We got some pieces from Vibrant, which is a 3.5-inch bend to make the downpipe from the O2 housing to connect to the catback, a 3.5-inch catback. So this piece we have to make for the car still. We don't have that, so that'll be part of the project.
Are you expecting any difficulties with this install of this downpipe?
Yes, a lot, because we have to fit a 3.5 where a 3-inch used to be. There will be some trouble. This is our material for making a 3.5-inch downpipe. We got to start chopping it off and make pieces that we can use out of these bend.
Ron, are you a fabricator now?
My own cars, yeah, but typically not others. I'm slow at it. I can do it. We just put a turn down right here, just over the axle. Don't need the rest of the exhaust. Ben's like, no, street car. When you're doing precise cuts like pie cuts, you're gonna want to use one of these machines, or you're just gonna end up grinding away. excess material that you don't want. I just need to cut like 3 or 4 of these. I should be able to make my bend. Time to tack. It's getting there, but it's a slow process. Right now we're all done with all the cuts and fitting. So from here I'm gonna tack it up, make sure it fits one last time, and then it's all gonna be welding from here. Who wants some pie?
This is sick. Ron did a great job on pretty short notice. I don't know if this is going to make more power or anything, but I'm excited to find out.
You want my honest opinion?
Yeah.
With this stuff being solid,
I don't think I'm making any more power.
It doesn't flex. It doesn't have the with the stock stuff.
I'm hoping for more spool,
The stock
but
stuff you don't have.
I don't see a 3-inch being a restriction. We're not. We'll see.
We were supposed to get a cat back, but you know, UPS kind of dropped the ball, so we're just gonna put on what Ron fabs up, and it shouldn't make a difference power-wise or tune-wise, having a cat back or not having a cat back.
Ron, what's happening right now?
We just finished the 3.5-inch exhaust.
How finished are we with it?
We are about right here because the rest of the exhaust didn't come in yet, so we made it as long as we could. It's gonna get chopped off later for the rest of the exhaust to fit in. So we're about to hear it right now. That's loud exhaust. Sounds like a Tundra.
Next time on Gears and Gasoline, the Civic is getting a transmission overhaul at TRE. We're putting in shorter gearing to help the engine stay in the power band for longer. We then head to Artsoms to pick up the Civic with its brand new scaffolding installed. And finally, we stop by RS Motors to do some headwork. All on the next episode of the Civic Build Series.